Good morning. Yesterday, I spent the majority of the day in a space of self-healing and spiritual development in preparation for the upcoming winter solstice, marking the halfway point in the ascension process. In doing so, I attended a workshop with Diana Cooper and Tim Wilde, a virtual workshop that was on the concept of the Board of Karma and Lord Kuthumi and the Brotherhood of the Golden Robe. The Brotherhood of the Golden Robe is something that was not part of my awareness until a few weeks ago when Diana sent out a newsletter describing the Brotherhood, essentially saying that many of us had incarnated as part of the Brotherhood of the Golden Robe, agreeing to personally, in our lifetime, in our body, our mind, our spirit, had agreed to process some of the karma, some of the dense, low-frequency emotions due to trauma on a global level on behalf of humanity. And reading that, it just gave context to two different awarenesses that I have had. The first awareness was the experience of working with, knowing, and seeing three people who, upon their transition, immediately became these shimmering golden versions of themselves. And when I read Diana's words, I suddenly understood that these three individuals were part of the Brotherhood of the Golden Robe. The first individual was a woman that I met in London named Therese, and the first moment I met her, she shared that she had given herself cancer over her lifetime. And she explained the reasons why with a lot of self-awareness. She was also a practitioner and a really beloved, beautiful human, the mother of 6 children. And just such a special woman. Her passing was something that was devastating to so many. The second came in 2021 when a client who became a friend passed, also from cancer, and specifically breast cancer for both of them. And she was a person who was deeply spiritual in many ways, but also was a person who questioned things and was also skeptical in many ways. And she was a massive force in her community and family. So again, her passing was devastating to all, and she really had a lot of anger towards the experience of having cancer and having to leave the earth at such a young age. When she passed, she came to visit me. It was before I had been told by her family that she had gone. I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw her all golden. And then the next day, her daughter got in touch with me and let me know, confirming her passing. Third experience was much more recent. It was actually the very beginning of November. I had done an event at this amazing nonprofit called Al Noba. It was a beautiful day that was really inspired to bring in so much love, community, and connection. And the nonprofit was designed and developed to inspire and really dare leaders to change the world. The patriarch of the family that founded and runs the nonprofit died suddenly 2 days after the event. And when his daughter called to tell me, and she recounted the final moments, in my mind's eye I clairvoyantly saw his final moments and him standing above himself, looking out on the horizon, a golden figure. When I later went to Shiva, as I would look around the room, a room filled with literally hundreds of people, on the first of many days of Shiva, with many visitors all over the country, I would seek out his wife, his daughter, and his son to just see how they were doing. And in the moments, I would see him standing, his golden self behind them, reassuring, bringing strength and love. So when Diana sent this newsletter, I suddenly realized, having an epiphany, that these three were members of the Brotherhood of the Golden Robe and had volunteered to transmute some of the densities of the world with their own physical bodies. I also had awareness that I also was a member of the Brotherhood of the Golden Robe. This awareness was something that I started to have some awareness probably about 10 years ago or so, in the early days of my own spiritual development. And it wasn't precisely understood in the way that it is now. But essentially, I had been with a shamanic practitioner, and I was asking him about the chronic fatigue I had, and just a chronic condition of Lyme and a secondary chronic fatigue diagnosis and a fibromyalgia diagnosis. And he, in explaining that this would be something that I would always contend with on some level, although would reduce it over time, he explained that my body was literally a doorway of sorts, or a portal, that transmuted lower, denser frequencies. I understood this more prominently in 2018 when I returned to the United States, having lived in London, and I began to set up my office space in Salem, Massachusetts, which has a rich history of persecution and false accusations, and then subsequently a history of magic. And I would feel that it was as if my office would fill with dense, dark energy that I would have to clear. And I was really exhausted for weeks and months upon arrival. And I had an opportunity to have a session and conversation with my friend David Manning, who's also a practitioner at the College of Psychic Studies. And David gave voice to what I had understood, was that I was literally transmuting the energy and the ley lines, the energy and the land from darker times. Fast forward it to 2021, and all of the hardships that we've experienced, I started having a lot of health concerns. And when I spoke with my functional diagnostic practitioner, we ran a biofeedback test, and the test results indicated that I had had all sorts of traumatic injuries and chronic diseases. And it was so shocking. I had done the test several times, and each test made sense. But on this occasion, it was describing conditions that clients were experiencing, and not something that was my experience, although certainly I had been feeling unwell for a while. Then fast forward again to this last year, where I had initially thought that it was a matter of me overextending myself, so I tried to work less when possible and try to rest more. But as the year has come to an end, particularly as we've stepped into November, which from my lens really showed the weight of the past few years, with many people dying and many people being diagnosed with chronic disease and illness, I started to become unwell, and it showed itself as extreme exhaustion. I have been able to make it through the day just barely, and then as soon as my day is done, having to really rest and get to bed early so that I could get up and do it again. And I had a session with one of my friends who is a biomagnetic feedback practitioner. And towards the end of the session, I asked her to check if I had COVID or long COVID or anything related. I had had COVID in January of 2021, but I was wondering if I had been reinfected but was asymptomatic minus the fatigue. So she went through a variety of the testing, which is best described as kinesiology or muscle testing or biofeedback testing. And she said, "You're presenting for vaccine injury, adverse events due to vaccine injury." And I was not vaccinated. So when there was this opportunity, especially knowing what my spiritual mission and practice has been, and my own guidance, and the guidance meaning from my own spirit guides, I have really tried to compensate and balance for whatever the effects of COVID or the vaccines have resulted or impacted my clients. And it made perfect sense because it has been something that has been so emotional because of my intuitive and spiritual awareness, and then the space that people and all of their various choices and decisions have been. It made perfect sense that I would be trying to take away as much sickness, illness, and suffering as humanly or divinely possible. So yesterday, I petitioned to remove the golden robe. The petition was granted. And I then petitioned the Board of Karma, asking and explaining in my own words how the burden upon humanity at this time is too great. And with that, there was unconditional love and compassion that was expressed, and a real awareness of how monumental this moment in time is, and how many beings of light are here to assist us. So as I continue to do my part, and I hopefully in some small way inspire each of you, I wanted to share a higher light decree that was channeled from the highest aspect of myself, of my oversoul. And it's one that I will speak 3 times daily from now until January 1st, 2023. I am part of the whole, and as such stand as one, a force of one. I decree divine will, divine ordinance, and divine calling to be spoken, to harness light, cultivating the light within, shining the light throughout, in order to awaken the God within, to create and be in love with the infinite nature of the selves, harmony, glory, truth, justice, freedom for all, as all is one. LOM. Amen. I am part of the whole, and as such stand as one, a force of one. I decree divine will, divine ordinance, and divine calling to be spoken to harness light, cultivating the light within, shining the light throughout, in order to awaken the God within, to create and be in love with the infinite nature of the selves, harmony, glory, truth, justice, freedom for all, as all is one. LOM. Amen. I am part of the whole, and as such, stand as one, a force of one. I decree divine will, divine ordinance, and divine calling to be spoken to harness light, cultivating the light within, shining the light throughout, in order to awaken the God within, to create and be in love with the infinite nature of the selves, harmony, glory, truth, justice, freedom for all, as all is one. LOM. Amen. So as the evening wrapped up last night, I felt unbelievable. And there was a joy and optimism and energy that I haven't experienced in some time. I'm not sure how long, because oftentimes things just discreetly, subtly leave you, and you don't notice until you're very far away from those states of being. And I was up much of the night because I had so much energy, and I woke up this morning refreshed, and I'm excited knowing that a great burden has been removed from me, so I can continue on with my mission, my calling, with much more energy to be able to impact in the ways that I endeavor and intend to impact. And of the experience, one of the most rewarding was the creation of the decree that I just shared with you. And it was an understanding that when I come into alignment with my higher self and I channel the wisdom of spirit, the decree that comes is a reflection of my threads or patchwork in a much greater tapestry. And that if others come into alignment with their highest self, setting an intention to channel a decree from spirit, and if they write those words down and they speak those words, words are spells, and words have energy, and all energy manifests. So that as others come in and speak into creation, the words, the intentions, the wisdom, the beauty that is available from a much, much higher perspective, then our entire world rapidly begins to evolve. And that is really exciting to me. So I hope that each of you will be inspired and will take a few moments. It could be a word, it could be a sentence. Do not edit it, just allow it to flow. Don't interfere with your logical mind. Let the words come. And then speak those words every single day, 3 times a day, because 3 is a number that makes manifest that with which is spoken, thought, or intended. And if you're able, do this daily through to the new year. And if you hear this at some other point in time, that's fine too. But it's especially poignant that with the energy available to us now, leading up to the solstice and then up to the new year, that these higher light degrees authored by our own soul will have beautiful impact in the physical world and the many dimensions that we simultaneously live in. Thank you for joining me.